I'm Phillip Lomax, Executive Vice President of MediaScience, and today we're going to be speaking about the intersection of neuroscience and media and advertising. The concept of applying neuroscientific tools to media and advertising isn't a new thing, but our application of neuroscience to media and advertising is more important than ever before. And let me talk about why. The premise of all of this is that we are not accurately capturing the emotional journey of audiences from simple measures. We're using signals such as likes or shares or comments to determine whether or not a specific piece of programming was successful or not, right? And I think that that's an inherently limited perception of the value of media, because media is intangible, and the purpose of media, and advertising in particular, is to create memory structures, right? We're trying to build up our associations with brands, where the brand lives, as in where we can buy the brand, the types of people that interact with the brand or purchase the brand, like celebrities, the unique, distinct brand assets associated with the brand, the golden arches for McDonald's or the LV for Louis Vuitton. And that's the point of advertising, to create and refresh these memory structures. But in order to achieve memory, we need to achieve several different components or outputs from our audience. Let's talk about the measures applied to media and advertising research. Eye tracking, galvanic skin response, heart rate, facial expression analysis, EEG, and custom surveys. We use all these different tools to determine outputs from audience members. All of these different measures provide us with different outputs, and that's a critical component to this value equation, because we shouldn't be relying on one specific measure. We should be using them in a toolbox approach together so that they sing in harmony. For eye tracking, the output that we get is visual attention. For heart rate, we get cognitive processing. Galvanic skin response, response intensity. Facial expression analysis, valence. EEG, approach withdrawal. For custom survey, memory and brand KPIs. So the first output that I like to discuss is visual attention. The ability to achieve someone's eyes on a particular spot on the screen. And when I say that, I mean not just eyes in the direction of the screen, right? But eyes looking at our brand logo, or eyes looking at our mascot, or eyes looking at our sponsorship billboard on Sunday Night Football. And I'm not talking about a simple video feed that shows if a person was looking at, in the direction of the screen. I'm talking about medical grade infrared eye tracking cameras. And we can use these types of scientific tools to pick up exactly where an audience member looked on the screen. We've got a pretty large screen, whether you're using a mobile or a desktop computer or a television, right? There's tons of different things flying around because it's not, a tangible asset, right? It's ethereal, it's moving pictures, right? So we need to use an eye tracking camera to determine whether or not they saw that McDonald's brand or they saw the, TikTok advertisement. We pair this measure as an industry with measures of cognitive processing, and heart rate monitors are used to determine what cardiac deceleration actually looks like for an individual participant, right? Cardiac deceleration is a measure of cognitive processing to determine if when that audience member was looking at that particular object on the screen, if they were not thinking about something else, right? So we want them to capture the information in front of them and store it, right? When we pair that measure with another measure called response intensity, now we're starting to get the full picture of how we can use these measures in tandem to triangulate how advertising is impacting audience members. So response intensity is measured with a tool called galvanic skin response, which is basically interacting with the sweat secretion of an individual while they're watching a show. Additionally, you can use measures such as facial expression analysis or even EEG to pick up on valence and approach withdrawal. So how do you get started applying neuroscience to media and advertising? Well, first off, it's not enough to just go out and buy scientific tools. You need to pair these powerful measurements with classical experimental design. So you should be reaching out to organizations that have a history of bringing experimental design to the table, but also being able to stand up that experimental design in front of academia. So companies that sit between industry and academia. You also need to bring to the table communication objectives. We should all be determining what our specific campaign objectives are and if we're able to achieve what we're trying to measure. So if I'm trying to measure humor, I know the best-in-class measure is facial expression analysis. If I'm trying to measure information transference effects, I know that the best-in-class measure is cognitive processing. So why use these types of tools within a controlled environment? If we can identify that we're creating emotionally neuro-rich, impactful experiences, right? We're brand building, right? And this is critical to the future of advertising as we move away from signals such as cookies within digital properties in particular. And how do we look to the future with a lens towards innovation? We find the best-in-class measures to measure the specific communication objectives we have as brands, agencies, and publishers. So reach out to MediaScience and collaborate with the leaders in media and advertising innovation research.